Everybody says it was Whitey Bulger. It wasn't. It was one of his guys. You know, they basically rolled into one of my gyms one day and basically said I owed him $2,500
For what?
for being there,
Just
for working there.
Would you believe us if we told you that the scariest tycoon of the fighting world, a guy with the world's best fighters shivering at the palm of his hand, was once made to run away from his hometown with his tail behind his back? You may hate him, but most of the world probably hates him. Even his mother says she hates him, but it's a fact that Dana White is one heck of a guy. So hang on tight, because in this video, we will tell you how Dana White had to flee his hometown after a run-in with a MO boss. We all know Dana White as the legendary man who made the world go crazy over a sport that was just a bar fight, but in a cage and in front of 1 million people.
Listen, there aren't too many things you can talk about the UFC about. If you look at what we've done with the business in the last 22 years, incredible. Never been done, ever. The things that we've done in the fight business, you always have to have something to talk about, I guess, and fighters always want to make more money. Boxing has absolutely been destroyed because of money and all the things that go on. It's never gonna happen while I'm here. Believe me, these guys get paid what they're supposed to get paid. They eat what they kill. They get a percentage of the pay-per-view buys, and the money is spread out amongst all the fighters. If you don't like it, there's a simple solution to this problem. Go start your own MMA organization, no barrier to entry, knock yourself out, pay them whatever you want to pay them. It's been done before. How's it worked out for other guys? Not well. Mind your business.
The idea of MMA and UFC was like a joke to the media and the people 30 years ago. The only form of fighting they knew was just boxing. Dana came out of nowhere, bought the almost dead UFC, and gave birth to the world's most brutal sport. It wasn't an easy ride for him at the very least, and he did not have any divine help. People just focus on the shiny exterior, but they always ignore the dark, crippling, and grotesque interior of things. So let's start with the story of Dana's rise, which made him leave Boston and betray his loved ones. Who were they? Stick around till the end of the video to find out.
I knew from the time that I was 19 years old that I wanted to be in the fight business. When you talk about a fight, and let's talk about who the baddest man on the planet is. It's if you lock two guys in a room, who comes out? Some people can't deal with chaos. Some people can't handle the pressure. But the universe works in crazy ways. And when you figure out who you are and what you want to do, and you devote your life to it, like a maniac, like you're all in on this thing.
It happened in the 1980s when Boston saw the most ridiculous weather ever. The streets were littered with gangsters and mobs, and there were so many that the police could barely control any of them. You could see Raymond Patriarca's men on one side of the street. Under his influence, Boston saw innumerable accounts of illegal gambling, loan sharking, pornography, and trafficking in stolen goods, and on the other side of the road were Whitey Bulger's men. Whitey was a part of the Winter Hill Gang at the time, and they were involved in racketeering, gambling, murder, and other criminal activities. In the middle of all this organized crime and violence was the gym of Dana White. He was in his early 20s and just living a simple yet happy time. White was deeply in love with the boxing life, and he worked alongside a local fighter called Peter Welsh. They were running a program that was aimed at getting kids off the streets by using boxing as a means to discipline them and spread respect among the youth. This was such a noble dream to have, but as you know, all good things don't cash. Not only were they at a financial disadvantage, but they were also directly messing with the gangs by taking away their future pawn criminals. White tried to support himself by teaching boxercise classes to businessmen, housewives, and anyone interested in learning the sport. It was a good effort to make, but unfortunately for him, it started working a bit too well. This didn't sit well with the gangsters, so they took the trouble of visiting him one day in his gym. And boy, that did not turn out well. One day, when he was teaching a class at the Boston Athletic Club in South Boston, a group of men walked in, and things got nasty real quick. They demanded that they needed to talk to him, not in a friendly way.
And these guys literally walk right into the middle of the class. So we need to talk to you. Like, I'm teaching a class. We need to talk to you. I'm thinking, these guys.
Dana thought these guys were from the club or something, but nope. They were part of the Winter Hill Gang, Bulger's goons led by Kevin Weeks. This was the point in Dana's life when all hell broke loose, and his life became a disaster. When the interviewer asked Dana if he would fight them if things got ugly, Dana's answer was way too shocking.
And you were somebody who was willing to pick a fight with somebody if need be, but this was kind of a whole other level.
You'd have to be brain dead to pick a fight with these guys. You know?
We are talking about the same guy who wouldn't bat an eye when somebody is getting beat up to near death and the guy crazy enough to challenge anybody on any day. But things were different here. The great Dana White was scared to even talk about these mobs. You can see the fear in his eyes as he talks about them, which tells us that even to this day, Dana is scared of them. Weeks and his crew took Dana out and demanded money from White. It wasn't a small chunk at all. It was a whopping $2,500. You guys might be thinking that what's 25 grand to a guy like Dana, but then even an extra penny on the ground felt like Christmas to him.
Basically said I owed him $2,500.
For what?
For being there,
Just
for working there. So, you know, to me, that was like 25 grand back then. I didn't have $2,500.
Dana was a hothead, but he was smart. He didn't mess with them and told them he was okay. They were asking him to pay that money just because he was there, so he didn't care and ignored the severity of the issue. He might have been able to forget it, but Bulger didn't. They shadowed him like death, and one day, death knocked on his door again.
I got involved with boxing, and there's a guy named Peter Welsh in Boston that I was partners with, a local fighter there. And what we did was we started this Get Kids Off the Street program. Basically, it was called the Muni, which was the municipal courthouse.
It's crazy how calm Dana was, even though he knew that these people, they kill. They kill without any reason. And Dana is already on their hit list. He had been denying it all this time, but realized it was way too real when they started mentioning his private contacts. It was at this point that Dana realized that he was too in to get out.
They said, well, get it from your girlfriend. She doesn't have it. Well, get it from somebody. I'm like, yeah, well, you got till tomorrow. You got till tomorrow, which was a Sunday. The next day was going to be a Sunday. You got till tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Dana started panicking, and to this day, he remembers every bit of this story. He remembers how he was going to be in trouble on a Sunday, and he knew he might die at 1 p.m.
What did you think was going to happen?
Nothing good. Nothing good was going to happen at 1 o'clock. So I literally, that day, I bought a plane ticket and came back to Vegas.
The reason that he knew what was going to happen to him so clearly is because in another interview, Dana told us that he asked these gangsters what they were going to do to him. Their answer was as terrifying as anybody can handle.
I said, or what? Are you going to find out?
Some might argue that what Dana did was just an overreaction. If he had the money to pay for a flight to Vegas, he could have just given the money to the gangsters. But the thing is, life isn't that simple. Once you give them a little bit of money, you become trapped in the endless cycle of extortion.
The crazy thing is, it wasn't even about the $1,500. If it was $25, it's still, once you give it to them, you give in all the time. It's that you're hooked.
100%.
Now, some might even argue that he should have gone to the police, but guys, you are seriously underestimating Boston of the 1980s. The mob bosses had brainwashed the people with fear. It was like a suicide to even think to go against these criminals. It was so bad that the commentator said,
People who don't know, back in the 70s and 80s in Charlestown and South Boston, they had a series of unsolved murders where guys would walk into a bar full of people, shoot someone dead, the cops show up, ask 200 people in the bar, what happened? And every single person says they were in the bathroom.
Dana even talks about how scared he was to call the police because it would just end up killing him. So under all of these tight situations, Dana made the best possible choice and ran away from Boston for good.
So when they say that you owe the money, you better run, pay or scram.
And then you knew you couldn't call the police. You know, it was like, it was the unwritten law that you couldn't call the police. And then you end up finding out later that Whitey was in with the FBI.
But his decision was not all that good. Even though things turned out okay, what if things had gone south? They knew about his girlfriend. So what if they had gotten to her and done horrible things to her? Dana's decision to run away was good for his survival, but in the moment of truth, he proved that he didn't care about anyone other than himself. He left her back in Boston and betrayed her, but that's who he is. It's a fact that Dana is notorious for his greed and selfishness, and it was the only asset he had that helped him climb the power struggle and get his hand on UFC back in 2001. Well, he didn't buy it on his own. He took the money from his childhood friends named Lorenzo and Frank Fertitta, who were casino owners. He used all kinds of tactics and tricks to make Lorenzo and Frank buy the Ultimate Fighting Championship for $2 million in January 2001. He made sure that they appointed him as the president of this company. And it was all thanks to his talents and skills that UFC was sold to some Hollywood talent agency for a mind-blowing $4 billion in 2016. It was the most expensive transaction that was ever made in sports history. And part of this deal was that Lorenzo and Frank had to step down. Dana still owns about 9% of the company and believes it will continue to strive.
Right now, if you look at our deal, where we're at, what we're doing, we're now one of the top 4 sports in the United States.
The Big Four has changed.
Exactly. The Big Four has changed. We are one of them.
We hope that you liked this video, and don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more updates.